What is up, everybody? I'm Josh on the MTG Homebrew Network, and I'm coming to you with yet another Tiny Leaders deck tech. This time we're talking about Mono Black Control. There's a lot of different ways that you can build Mono Black Control. I think it's a very strong archetype in this format. Archetype? How do you say that? Correct me in the comments, let me know. But basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to strip our opponent of resources and eventually win using Braids' deal 2 damage ability, and also the fact that we'll be drawing cards, and hopefully they won't. We're on Liliana of the Veil. That's it. I shouldn't have to say the rest. Everyone knows what this deck is about now. End the video. Goodbye. No, but for real, we're just on that classic Mono Black resource denial strategy. Our creatures are all things that either break parity with the resource denial, trying to get us more cards like this Caustic Bronco, or things like Dothy Voidwalker that just deny opponents resources. We also have creatures that generate bodies for Braids to sacrifice like Jadar. But things like Orcish Bowmasters, format staple Black Bloom Rogue, I'm gonna keep saying that until it becomes true. Barrow-Goyf, which is just a disgusting card in this format, and or in general. And Lord Skitter, just a lot of just powerful black creatures that make it very hard for our opponent to beat when they're stripped on resources already. Shakedown Heavy is a card that's kind of notable here. It's not a card that you see a lot outside of Commander, and even in Commander it's not super well played. It either draws you a card and stays as a blocker, which is great because it's a 6/4, or it smashes in with 6/4 Menace, which is great because it wins the game. So I think it's a really sweet card in this deck. If it ever becomes useless, you can just sacrifice it to Braids too. Our sorceries are pretty standard. We're just playing all of the 1 mana turn 1, make your opponent discard a card cards so that you can A, peep their hand and try to figure out what their game plan is so you can dismantle it, but also so that you can tempo them out and make it so that they can't do the things that they want to do, which gives you more time to set up for Braids and so you can start to like completely bury them under card advantage. We have a ton of removal in our instant suite. We're on like all of the destroyer creatures with mana value 3 or less cards. We're on Dismember. We're even on Sudden Edict for people who are commander-centric strategies. We even have stuff like Hopeless Nightmare, which are in there just to stack to Braids. Bitter Blossom and Dreadhorn Invasion are in the same tree, the same vein. What I like about these cards in Braids, and something that I do often when I'm playing, is when your life total gets too low and you don't really need the token generation anymore, you can just sacrifice the enchantment. It's very useful. I played a game actually a couple of days ago where my opponent was removing Braids so that I couldn't sacrifice my Bitter Blossom so that I would eventually die to my Bitter Blossom. It was hilarious, but that's like what this deck does. And then obviously we're on Oubliette because it says if you don't have an answer for Oubliette and your deck is built around your commander, good game, you lose. So it's just a classic card to be playing in any control deck. We have a lot of main board graveyard hate in this deck because we're killing so many things. We just don't want them to come back from the graveyard. But there's another reason for that too. Things like Abstergo Entertainment. We're not on Bazooka Bog, but we are on Hive of the Eye Tyrant, which makes a 3/3 menace that also hates on the graveyard. But we have a lot of graveyard hate in this main deck, like Boggart Trawler, even, where is he? Lord Skitter, the Sewer King, just because our sideboard is kind of funky. We have a sideboard juke in this deck, and the sideboard juke is 8 land destruction cards, or is it 7? It's 7 land destruction cards that you sideboard in here when your opponent is on a greedy mana base, a multicolored deck, or is playing any kind of like deck where a tempo loss, like sinkholing their land on turn 2, would really put them behind. I think specifically in Braids, where you're trying to keep resources from even hitting the board in the first place, these cards are really brutal. And if anyone's playing like a 3, 4, 5 color deck, like a Sinkhole or an opposition agent for their fetch lands just ruins them. It just completely ruins them. And it's a great juke because you can board it in for game 2 and then board it back out for game 3 so that they have to adjust and make a clunky mana base or do something to play against it, and then you're not even using them anymore. You're back on all your removal spells. So I think it's a really brutal sideboard juke for the deck. I think it's a deck juke that a lot of decks won't be prepared for, and even if they are prepared for it, like what can they do about it? This is a singleton format with 49 or 48 card decks. You can only have so many answers for so many strategies, and I think the land destruction strategy is uncommon enough that people aren't going to prepare for it, even knowing it's a possibility. So I think it's a really good juke for this deck specifically to have, just because of its need to deny resources just in general. And that's basically the whole deck. We're playing Braids, we're slowly draining our opponents and drawing cards, and we're relying on our very powerful creatures to end the game while we do so. Very simple and satisfying deck to play. Thanks for watching.